If you want to work in the field of nutrition outside of the traditional employment model, you might be interested in becoming an entrepreneur. I identify with this title. I want to share with you what's worked for me in the past 10 years to become successful in this role. Well, hey folks, Amy Hager here. I'm a registered dietitian by trade, but I don't feel like I fit into that traditional role of a dietitian with a job. Instead, I work for myself and I do a few different things that are related to nutrition and dietetics. I have a private practice, which is both telehealth based and insurance based. And I also teach an online course about this where I help other dietitians who are wanting to become self-employed in private practice. So I teach them how to get set up in that. And then non-nutrition related, I run a monetized YouTube channel, building a life in the mountains and have a little bit of a homestead feel to it. And then also I have an art business and I'm also a beekeeper as a hobby. And I'm now working on a new business with a partner to help health professionals conquer overwhelm and burnout. So it sure sounds like a lot going on, but I'm not doing all of the things all of the time. And most of these things run on autopilot. But how did I get here? So I'm going to tell the story of sort of how I got transitioned into this. So I definitely used a few key things to help build my success, and I'm going to outline them for you today. So I think when people say entrepreneur, usually they mean that they want to do their own thing. They want to find their own way, come up with their own ideas about how to earn a living, and I think that's great. But the path to successful entrepreneurship is not really a standardized approach. You can't just copy what somebody else is doing and expect that you're going to get the same results. In fact, it can look different for everyone and just depends what you want to do, right? So that being said, I'm going to share with you 5 key characteristics that have contributed to my success in my entrepreneurial journey. And so here's my list. All right. So number 1 is the ability to think outside of the box. I know you've heard that saying before, but what I really mean is that you'll have to come up with your own ideas about what to do and how to go about it. Entrepreneurs are known for developing innovative ways of doing things, often breaking the mold. And to develop this mindset, you have to ask yourself, what else is possible? What else is there? It's more than what is just right in front of you. That's a key characteristic defining an entrepreneur. Or how could I take this to the next level? Always going beyond. That's just the key characteristic. If anything was possible, what would you like to see happen? So these questions encourage you to think beyond the natural boundaries, what you see in front of you. And if you're the type who's always asking other people what to do or what you should be doing, then you might find yourself struggling with entrepreneurship, frequently getting stuck because of perceived limitations. So I had an out-of-the-box idea when I signed up for a virtual provider listing with a service called ZocDoc. And they offered me an address for a Colorado practice because that's where I was living. But I felt like there was maybe some more opportunity that I could take advantage of. So I asked them if I could have an additional virtual listing in other states because, where they allow so in licensure, I can practice in other states. And they'd never even considered that option. When I was asking that, they had to kind of go back to the drawing board. Nobody apparently had ever asked if they could have more than one listing on their virtual listing. So we reviewed the legalities, and sure enough, I was able to list my practice virtually in 3 other states. But had I not been thinking outside of the box of what else is possible, what else could there be, what else could I do here, then I would have just stayed in my narrow lane and not had as much opportunity. So definitely be asking yourself those questions. What else? If money was not an object, if I had a magic wand, what could I do? Just really get your brain thinking outside of that box. Okay. So number 2. So another key quality that has served me well as a self-employed dietitian is risk tolerance. So Entrepreneurship is not always smooth sailing, and you can have incredible highs and unpredictable lows. But having a personality type that can navigate the fluctuations without getting overly upset has the best chance of enduring the long game of entrepreneurship. How about this example? If the idea that your clientele and your client load suddenly unexpectedly drops, if that sends you into a panic, let that be a wake-up call before you go all in on working for yourself. Because an experienced entrepreneur realizes that occasional fluctuations in business activity and revenue are a normal part of the culture, and it's nothing to worry about. Over time, you might even be able to predict some of these ups and downs, but it's not like getting a paycheck week after week. It's not always the same. And that's what some people like, sort of the thrill about that, because you can make a lot of money and then you can have a month where you're a little bit struggling. And if you're smart with all of your savings, it's not going to be a burden to you. And so the third characteristic, I think, which can help define a successful entrepreneur is self-discipline. So let's face it, some people have a hard time motivating themselves to get the things done that they need to do, even when they know that they should. It's a constant topic in discussing behavior change with clients. And no profession is immune to self-sabotage. Entrepreneurship will require you to rely on yourself most of all. And if you can't depend on yourself to get the things done when you need to get them done, you're going to become your own worst enemy. So there's no manager, there's no time clock, there's no guaranteed paycheck in self-employment. And there's really no repercussions if you fail to follow through. No one's going to slap you on the hand. No one's going to say you're fired. So, you don't have those biggies over your head keeping you on the straight and narrow. You won't get written up and no one will know if you're not putting in 100%. But if you have strong habits, they can carry you really far. The discipline to do what you need to do when no one is looking can be a solid foundation for your business and will build a habit of success over time. Number 4, this isn't really a personality characteristic, but I think it's a key aspect of entrepreneurship, and that is having a variety of income streams. So it's an oldie, like a lot of people have mentioned this before, but it's still valid. And I can attribute personally the importance of this one to my parents who were self-employed. The old saying goes, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And this rings true for entrepreneurship. I like the idea of planting a lot of different seeds and then tending to them as your energy allows and as your focus allows. Sometimes you plant one seed and then when you're focused on something else in another area, that seed starts taking off. It'll be fun fruit when you're ready to harvest it. So metaphors aside, I think it's really important to have at least a couple of things that are going to help generate revenue in your business. It can be hard to predict which area is going to take off and which area is going to need more help. So by not having all of it riding on one singular effort, it can help you be a little bit more relaxed and at ease, just knowing that you have other things in the pipeline, you're building other things at the same time. So sometimes, you might come to view this as a seasonal fluctuation. I have a lot of different aspects to my self-employment, and some are a lot more active different times of year. And that's okay. That's totally fine. It's nice to have the variety, I think, from season to season, so you're not really getting bored and burned out of one thing. But sometimes unpredictable circumstances can shut down your efforts in one area. So let's say, for an example, like a pandemic shows up, and so it pretty much shut down my ability to work on my art business. Couldn't do any art shows for a couple of years. People weren't gathering in groups. So that allowed me to take my focus online, doing a lot more with one-on-one nutrition consults. Had I only been doing the art business, I would have been like, now what do? I have to hustle and figure out how to make money from art online, and I'm not trained in that. So I had different aspects to go to. I also planted seeds for passive income years ago. Now, passive income, sometimes you can get really lucky and get something that produces a lot of revenue for you immediately, but usually passive income is something that builds over time. Years ago, I ended up writing a book about my journey to entrepreneurship, or my journey into private practice. I did a lot of work on the front end, wrote this book, put it on Amazon, and it generates sales on a monthly basis for the last 10 years. So it's something I could count on as revenue, and it just makes consistent sales. So it's nice to kind of have a few things like that in the pipeline too, like these passive things that you don't have to actively work on anymore because you've already done the work in the past. Things like affiliate income or having Amazon affiliate links. Those are examples where people are blogging and they put in a link and they get a little bit of like a 1% kickback from Amazon. Over time, that compounds and you end up getting a more of a reliable passive income stream. So the recommendation here is not to create multiple businesses, but it's just to find ways to diversify your income so that they can come from different sources. So an example might be, if you want to stay nutrition focused, it might be having one-on-one clients, offering online courses, teaching local wellness fairs, and promoting brands on social media. So it's 4 different ways of making money, all related to being your own boss, but they can complement each other, and you're not depending on one single thing to make all of your money from. And the last one, number 5, this aspect of entrepreneurship I think is key, and that is staying connected to your peers. So one danger of becoming self-employed is that you kind of withdraw from the professional world and you're just your own island. Well, that's not really good for anybody. This piece has been key to my success as an entrepreneur, is to really pay attention and communicate with others that are in my shoes. I am active and engaged in social media groups, and I pay attention to trends and relevant, the current events. Knowing what is going on amongst your peer groups will keep you alert and aware, and rather than being in the dark and oblivious to what's going on in your industry. I'm a member of multiple groups and I keep up with the conversation. I even contribute advice when it's appropriate. And had I not had my finger on the pulse of insurance and dietetics, I would have completely missed out on the shift in telehealth coverage, which shifted at the beginning of the pandemic. And it would have delayed my opportunity getting back into private practice with just online virtual focus. Asking questions and contributing to others' questions, sharing your experience is valuable, and it's as valuable as any college degree, in my opinion. So it's adding and receiving value from maintaining your peer professional network. So don't be afraid to give back and share your journey. People want to know what your experience is. You never know where it can lead. I wrote a book about my experience just shifting into private practice, and now it's turned into an entire course helping others. Just because you're self-employed doesn't mean you're a solo island. It doesn't mean you're disconnected from the rest of your profession. You got to stay. It takes a little bit extra work to stay connected, but it's 100% worth it. So I hope you enjoyed my insights into characteristics and aspects that can help your entrepreneurial journey in nutrition. Let me know if you had any aha moments here by leaving a comment below. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to catch the latest video here. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos on private practice and being self-employed as a dietitian.